Welcome, everyone. My name is Robert Maggi. I'm with Wealthwise with Maggie, and I'm here today with a beautiful young lady who does our podcast, Jacqueline, and she always puts me through questions that I don't know are coming. But I'm here with my associate, Kirk Agus, and he does the same thing to me every day. So I'm probably going to get beat up by two people.
Yeah. Who's greater than one?
Yeah, but no.
Exactly.
Yeah, but thank you for joining us. We're going to talk about a lot today about maybe what we do and some estate planning seminars that we do and what we cover. So thanks again for joining us today. And if you have any questions, you can always get in touch with my company and give us a call or email me, and we'll see what we can do for you. So thank you for joining us today, and I hope you enjoyed today's podcast.
Yes. Well, what a great introduction, Bobby. It's great to be here. And we have Kirk on the show for the first time. So, Kirk, how are you doing?
Jacqueline, I'm awesome. Thanks for having me. Thank you, Bobby. What a great introduction. You're right. How about that? Not too shabby.
Not too shabby.
Like he's done this before.
Yes. And I do want to touch on that because you have a little bit of a background. Can you share maybe what you have done in the past, how you ended up at Maggie, just a little bit about yourself?
Sure. No, it's a fun little story. So I grew up in the Motor City, Detroit, came down here to Florida in 2006. Spent about 5 years on the East Coast, did a lot of surfing over there, missed the big city. So I came over to Tampa in 2011. That's when I linked up with these guys. I was actually working in radio at the time. And so I was helping them with their radio show, writing commercials, doing all that. And that's how our relationship evolved. And once I left radio, I got insurance license, started doing a lot of insurance work on my own. Always kept in touch with these guys. I'd pop into all the different offices and check in on Bobby and Chris. And we just got to talking one day, and it evolved. And next thing you know, we started working together. And that was back in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
But my background going into everything too, from the radio side of things, I have a broadcasting background, did a lot of sports broadcasting and baseball, the minor league teams, which that in itself has helped a lot when we've done a lot of the seminars, speaking engagements, podcasts like this, right? The commercials, television shows, all of that, helping to write commercial script. So that's helped us immensely when it comes to the marketing side. But here we are today now, 2026. So we've been doing this for quite a while and hope to continue doing it for quite some time in the future here.
Yes. It's so great to have you on the show. And what a background. I mean, that's so unique. And also it brings so much character to the office, really. I mean, I'll put it out there. Maybe you're the personality,
Well, I'll tell you, he's got a good personality. I never know what he's going to say to me at meetings or what he's going to do, but I think that's what makes our relationship work. I can say things to Kirk, and he come right back, and he can say things to me, and we don't get insulted, but we learn from one another. We have a lot of fun. Yeah. That's why when I met with Kirk, it was just, I'm not going to say love at first sight because I don't want people to get the wrong idea, but it's like,
I will.
No, but he's like my third son. Honestly, he's a great kid, and he loves this business, and he learned it. He helped me. Actually, I helped him learn the seminar in the very beginning, and he stood in the back and took notes, and he mimicked me. And then he said, finally, Bobby, I want to do my seminars. I'll let him tell you the rest of the story, because it was just, it's what you want when you hire people that understand what you're doing and get the same message out. But he's got to be himself, and he's very, very funny at the seminars, but he's serious, and he's very, very smart at what he says. So I am glad to have him.
Yes. Well, Kirk, why don't you share with us? You do seminars. So what are those topics typically on?
The main topic is on estate planning. And that's been a hot topic over the last year and a half at our seminar events. And when we talk about estate planning, typically people associate wills, trusts, powers of attorney, and that's it. Well, that's the main component to it, of course, but there's more than just the legal document side of it. There's the tax side of it. There's the investment planning side of your estate. There's the income planning. All these are factors, Social Security. There's so much that goes into it. So I create a whole story. I mean, we start from the tax side. As Chris and Bobby told you last week on the podcast, we do complete planning. And complete planning involves all of that: tax, insurance, investment, Social Security, income planning, the tax planning. It all involves estate planning. So I'll walk everybody down a whole path, a whole story. And when they get to the end of it, they see, okay, now everything makes sense. Why Kirk was talking about, our taxable accounts and how that can affect our own heirs, our children, because they may potentially pay more tax when that money gets transferred to them because of the 10-year rule, the new legislative law, the risk that comes along with it. So there's so much that we tap into. But like Bobby said, you have to be able to talk to the people. You have to be engaging. I love getting in front of an audience. There's no secret to that, right? I love to have fun with the audience and we joke around with them. You walk into my seminars, there's music playing. So it's, you don't have that kind of like I've walked into a morgue feeling, right? We want people to be energized and feel good about it. But we tell real life stories, some of them personal, a lot from our clients. And we walk them through the path where, we're engaging. You have questions, ask questions. I don't shy away from, answering questions at these events. I think oftentimes you might go to an event like this and you feel like you can't ask a question or you're too shy. We make it fun and engaging, right? And that's, at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's about educating everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that I'm so glad that you brought that up. I like to make a kind of a joke about it, but you guys are counselors, therapists, teachers, financial advisors, all of those things into one conversation and one relationship. And you provide so much more than just money, right? People assume financial advisors, they assume mostly stocks and, how do we prepare for how much money I can make.
It's funny. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Chuck put that seminar together, the estate planning seminar, and I brought it in and we looked at it and we start talking about it, Kirk and Chris and I. Estate planning has to do with everything that he mentioned. So when you're talking about taxes and income planning, and investment planning, it all boils down to who's going to pay the tax, when's it going to pay the tax, who's going to get it, and how do you want it to get. And people don't talk about that. They're transactional advisors. And I've been doing this for a long time, and every client that we talk to, we ask them these questions. And you know what? It's such a good reaction. Like, my guy never told me about that. And it gets their attention. And I think Kirk will tell you the stories that come out and like, let's just take a few minutes here and, what's going to happen if I die? And who's the, house going to go to? What about my money? How is it titled? And that's what we cover. So what Kirk does at these seminars, it brings the attention to these people and the appointments. It's not hard to check that sheet. I want to see these guys.
Yeah. And I think estate planning in itself is the most emotional aspect of money management. We talk a lot about how you keep emotions out of kind of the portfolio side, and you want to keep the emotions out of that. But then estate planning, that's where the emotions do come in. And it plays a huge role as to what your goals are, what your plans are, and what you want for your legacy.
Yeah. And it's important, sometimes we get emotional, at the table. Kirk talks about some stories and you kind of get choked up, and it's not something that's imitation. It just happens when you're talking about that situation. We see it every day. And I mean, Kirk can tell you some of the situations we've been through with some of our clients. And boy, I tell you what, it's heartbreaking. And when the kids come in and they don't have an idea and we have to tell them, look, this is what's going to happen, it's shocking. So, we encourage the client that comes in, what about your kids? Are they set up for estate planning? And as well as I do, oh, no, they're not set up at all. So
no, they don't want to talk about it. We get that a lot too. No, I can't talk about this in front of my kids. Really? Like you can't be mom and dad and have that honest, real conversation with your kids. You have grandkids who are minors. Well, is there a legal guardian set up? What would happen if, the parents were to pass and now you might have two sets of grandparents battling it out in court because there was no legal guardian set up, right? Little things like that we look at. Look, right before we got on this podcast, I was completing a phone call with a client of ours. We lost 3 clients in the last week and a half.
Wow.
And I just was having a discussion on the phone with the client. We haven't spoke about it yet, but one of the bank accounts, for example, there's no beneficiary. They found a bank account with no beneficiary, right? They didn't know about it beforehand. Well, so what's going to happen there? That's going to go through probate, right? Probate, as many know and many who don't know, that just means to prove. You have to prove in the court system now where that account's supposed to go, who's supposed to get that money, right? Now, could that cause conflict? Yeah,
Absolutely.
potentially it could, right?
Mhm.
We hear stories like that all the time. I joke at the seminars when I ask everybody who has kids and who has grandkids, and I say, now look, I'm sure everybody's kids are angels, right? Nobody would argue over anything here, right? And they all chuckle because they understand the reality is, like, when stuff like this occurs, on the surface, you may think everybody's going to be okay about it.
But they're not.
Relationships are lost. They battle it out for years. Probate's no fun. So when you do things incorrectly, the result is typically not what you like.
And there's a key word that we're using here, and that's planning. And I think estate planning, we're preparing for it. That is the number one thing that you can't react to, right? You're not there to react to it. So you have to plan for it. And you guys have a fabulous resource that you use in your office called Generational Vault. Can you kind of touch on what that is?
I love Generational Vault. So the vault is an opportunity for clients. They have access to it. They can, it's a safe, secured site. It's encrypted where they can upload any documents that they wish, whether it's, statements from their investments, their portfolio. They can link bank accounts to it. There's a folder inside of it titled Legacy. What we do is with every will or trust, powers of attorney that are written, everything goes into the vault, right? God forbid something happened to our clients. Well, their kids can get access into the vault and they can see where everything is, what mom and dad had. It helps with the transfer process immensely, right? For example, earlier today, when I was delivering a trust to a client and we had that conversation, they've gone into the vault, so they know. So I was able to walk them through the process of what I'm going to do. We're going to upload all the documents there. Anything else that you want to continue to fill out as part of your trust documents and you want to add to it, you can. But it's a tool that is there for the survivors, for the loved ones, to make life a lot easier. And that's the whole idea behind the planning side of this. What burdens can we take off of your loved ones, right? To make that transition so much easier, because it's not going to be easy from the emotional side of it.
Yeah, you're right. And the emotional side, I mean, you're in crisis when this happens and you're not thinking straight. And so to have a plan put together for you and for your loved ones, I believe that that's the greatest gift. No matter what you are giving financially or, what might be included in what you're receiving, the gift is having a plan set for you. So you're not having to think in an emotional crisis mode or when your mind is not really there. Let's be honest, right?
What's interesting, Jacqueline, is that when someone dies, it's chaos. I mean, a friend of mine died a couple of weeks ago, and the brother called me and said, "Bobby, what do I do?" And I said, "Do nothing." And he said, "What did you say?" I said, "Do nothing." And he said, "What does that mean, do nothing? I have a lot to do. I've got things to do." I said, No. Do not sign any papers. Do not answer these phone calls. Just let it simmer and do nothing. And then call us and we'll walk you through it. Because that's when the vultures come out, when they find someone passes away, they see someone died and they want to call them up and you got to do this, you got to do that. No. So we try to make it easy for them. And you'd be surprised how many times Kirk will tell you the same thing, that, we're so glad that you guys told us to do nothing, because we want to come in, in a more relaxed atmosphere and understand what's going on, because they have to get it right, not do it wrong. And that's where a lot of the problems happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tell them every time, take a time out.
Yeah.
Right. Like Dick Vitale, take a TO, take a TO, settle down a bit. Right. Because when the emotions are high, mistakes happen. Mistakes happen often like that. Right. And so Bobby's correct in saying that you just gotta, deal with the loss and that part of it. We'll handle everything else on the other end. And quite frankly, because of the planning that we do throughout the process, everything's set up correctly anyway.
Yep.
So we don't have to rush into it. So it makes it a lot easier on the clients. Of course it does.
Yeah. Well, I want to leave our listeners with maybe some action items or things that maybe they should check off or confirm. I know, Kirk, you mentioned beneficiaries. That's a great recommendation to kind of check. Is there anything else that you think our listeners should do or go home and maybe talk to their family about?
It's a great question, Jacqueline. Beneficiary, you're right. Number one, that is the beneficiary pays on death. If you have a will, beneficiary supersedes a will. Many don't even know that. But if all of your accounts are titled with proper beneficiary designation, then it's going to pay on death, right? So we avoid probate with that. I would also say, look at any other property. How is your house titled? Is it in your name only? Is it titled joint with a right of survivorship? Is it read joint tenants in common? Because if it reads tenants in common, then it's not a right of survivorship, and a portion of that's going to go through probate when you lose one individual. Right. Titling of all of your accounts is key. And I would say, you should always have an estate planning review, regardless if you've had a will for 5 years, if you've been sitting on it for 15, 20 years. If you wrote it in a different state, you most certainly should update it under your current state's statutes, because believe it or not, every state has different statutes, and the language reads differently with the powers of attorney. Trust, those cross state lines, right? But what needs to be changed in a trust? Maybe there was a divorce in the family. Maybe there's some new grandkids. Maybe somebody passed away, or somebody did you dirty and you need to remove the beneficiary designation. I don't know. You need to have a proper review, though. But the beneficiary, in our minds, that's where it starts first and foremost, because if you have beneficiaries across the financial accounts, everything's going to transfer without probate.
Let me add one more thing to that we do. It's probably the easiest way what Kirk is explaining, but we have an intake form that we give to each client. And how many questions are there? 10 questions. Maybe. And when you read the question, they go, wow, I never thought about that. And then they have to think, well, maybe I'm doing it wrong. So the intake form alone, in what we do with the estate planning with every client, it leads the way to the end, and they go, wow, this is exactly what I don't have. I need to do this. And he'll tell you many stories, they don't know because they don't think about it. And that's when you go back and you say, what about your kids? What about Jacqueline? Is she taken care of? Well, I don't know. But the intake form in itself is the lead, and everything else follows. So that's very important. You mentioned the vault, the intake form, they're connected, and the questions come out. Let them answer them, because it's their story. It's not mine. It's not yours. And they sit back, and sometimes you can see tears come out of their eyes. And it's like so heartbreaking, because it's such a serious moment. And advisors have to understand, and this is where I think you mentioned where we're different. We take it serious, because we care about each and every client. And when they come in, they'll sit back and they go, you know what? My advisor doesn't talk to me like you guys do. He never showed me about I need to trust or a will. They never explained a beneficiary form or a POD. So that's where we get the head start on people, because you got to tell them the truth. You got to be honest. And you know what? If you're not serious about it, then you're at the wrong place. You got to get serious.
Can I give you, Jacqueline, two other little
please
planning nuggets here for everyone? Really, when we talk about a house, there's a little thing called a Ladybird deed in the state of Florida. It's available in 5 states. Texas, Michigan, West Virginia, Vermont are the other 4. Essentially, it's a beneficiary form for your house. It's also known as an enhanced life estate deed. So on that deed, you can designate a beneficiary. You have full power to revoke it or amend it. But what it is, it's a legal notarized document that's witnessed and signed, and it's recorded in the county that the house resides in. It's a placeholder. You pass away, that's an automatic transfer to the designated beneficiary. All the county clerk needs is a copy of the death certificate, and it avoids probate, right? A lot of people don't know about that. The other one is when we talk about a trust, oftentimes the biggest mistake someone has with a trust is they haven't completed the process. And what I mean by that is they have not funded the trust with any assets. Many times we get clients that'll come in here for the first time and they tell us they have a trust, and we'll ask the simple question, well, what does the trust own? And they look at you like a deer in headlights. Like, what do you mean by that? Like, was the house in the trust? Oh, no, you know what? We haven't gotten around to that yet. Right? So you're defeating the purpose of a trust, right? So just those 2 little things there. If you're in Florida, Texas, Michigan, West Virginia, Vermont, you can use a Ladybird deed to bypass probate on the transfer of your home when you die. And then the trust, you got to make sure that it is properly funded, because it only avoids probate if it owns assets or is a named beneficiary of an asset.
I'll give you a quick story, if I may. I used to work with an attorney in the very beginning. I had the attorney come in. You hear many advisors say, bring an attorney in and have him do your seminar.
Yes.
I did. So I'm listening to him. He's doing the seminar, and I gave him a lot of referrals, and he took it there. And I was waiting for referrals back on the backside that he would see that there were assets and Bobby needs to take care of it. That never happened. So I went to his office one day, and I tell this story all the time because it's true. And I saw these filing cabinets. I don't know if you remember, Jacqueline. They were rolling filing cabinets.
Yes.
Okay. There was like 3 rows of them. And I said, man, you have a lot of clients. He said, no. He said, no, not really. He said, that's my retirement. And I said, what do you mean it's your retirement? Because what Kirk just said, they didn't fund the trust. So he's going to probate every single one of those files. And how many times, Kirk, we have clients come in that went to that attorney and we see it and we ask them the same question. Did they fund the trust? And what did they tell us?
Well, my attorney said he was handling that.
He was handling that. So there you go.
Quick fix. Let's pull up the county records. Let's take a look here. And there's their original warranty deed from 1986, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, what are you talking about? But there's no expiration on recording a deed. So we're able to help with them at that point. But Bobby's right. When you don't fund the trust, the kids might be like, what do you mean I got to go through probate?
That's a liability. Yeah. That's not a fiduciary responsibility, if you ask me.
Yeah.
That's definitely poor.
And I do just want to make one quick reminder for our listeners before we close out today is it all starts with a conversation, whether that's with Maggie and with you guys, getting that intake form or just having a conversation about your needs, or if it's sitting at the kitchen table with your kids talking about, hey, what do you guys want? How do we go about this? I want to value your opinions and your goals. And just start with a conversation. So
I would say too, go on our website, go to MaggieTax.com. If you click on the seminar tab, you'll see the list of dates, times, and locations and where we're doing our seminars. If you want to start with that, come out to a seminar, see us in person and hear what we have to say. We're there to educate you. We're not there to sell you anything. We're going to educate you. We do a lot of the seminars inside libraries. And what do you go to a library for? To learn.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. So, a good point.
And by the way, it's free. We don't give them food.
That's true.
Well, I love it. Well, how can our listeners and viewers reach out to you guys to maybe get that complimentary consultation to talk about estate planning, maybe their concerns, their goals?
Well, the easiest way is go to our website, MaggieTax.com. Everything is on there that Kirk's talking about. You can make an appointment right on the website. Comes right to me. I get it. We book an appointment. Call us at 833 Maggie Tax, MAGGITAX. And on the website, we've got webinars. We've got the TV shows that we ran, the radio show. We have the podcast because now I'm a podcaster, right, Jacqueline?
Yes,
I'm an
Bobby.
official podcaster. So you got me into this, but no, I'm glad we are. It's such an easy way to, we do radio, Chris and I. We do, an hour show, and we do it every week. And I have commercials running all over the place. So our name is out there. The building that I'm in has a big sign outside, Maggie Tax, but you'd be surprised how many people come in and say, my guy doesn't do it. And if you're listening, we're giving you options to do it. Kirk does seminars. I have Sam and Kirk. They do 2 seminars a month. We do the radio, TV, and the commercial. So it's easy. It's up to them. Jacqueline, if you don't do something about it, nobody will. So we're giving you the opportunity to listen. But, you said it before, you have to have a conversation. It's not about telling you because you're going to tell us what's going on anyway. So that's the way it has to be done.
Yeah, just starting somewhere. And for our listeners and viewers, as you can tell, Bobby and Kirk are the least scary people I've ever met. So it's a great conversation to just give them a call and say, hey,
Check
these are my
in the
concerns.
mail, Jacqueline.
You're on, baby. You're on.
All
so
right.
good.
Well, that does it for this episode of Wealthwise with Maggie. Thank you both and have a great week.
Thanks, Jacqueline.
Thanks, Jacqueline. See you next time.